What's up, all you beautiful people? Today, I am going to be doing a review on HBO's The Last of Us episode 5. If you can't tell, hopefully my video quality is a little bit better. I'm actually using my phone finally instead of my shitty webcam, and I'm actually looking at the camera for the first time, so that's gonna be a little bit weird to get used to. We even got a little ring light over here and everything, so hopefully this video quality actually looks a little bit better and you're actually gonna be able to see some significant quality change, especially when you're watching on a TV, because I watched one of my videos on a TV for the first time. Man, it looks rough. So I'm trying to do something a little bit different without having to buy all new equipment and stuff. So I got a pretty ghetto looking setup here behind me. But anyways, I think we'll just jump right into the episode. Full spoilers, all that good stuff. If you don't want to be spoiled by anything, click away, go watch everything, get caught up. Come back and watch this. We're just gonna kind of go through the plot, synopsis of the episode, and then kind of talk about my thoughts on it. Also, by the way, bear with me a little bit. It's been about 5 days since I watched this because it was all weird because of the Super Bowl, so I was busy over the weekend. And then I was trying to do this new setup, so this video is even coming out late, but yeah, we got all sorts of stuff going on. This episode opens with Rose. In my notes, it was a little interesting because I wrote down one of my very first notes that I put down was that Rose actually already seems a lot better of a character and actress to me. If you watch my last video, I was commenting a lot about how all I was thinking was how she reminded me, oh, that's funny, I'm even calling her Rose from 2.5 Men, but she reminds me just of the Rose character from 2.5 Men and not so much Kathleen, which is what her actual name is in this show. But then going back into this, because later down in my notes, I say, no, Kathleen still kind of sucks. When she kind of goes ultimate, you know what, we're gonna save that for the end. I'm not gonna just jump to the end. But Rose in the beginning of this episode seemed a little bit better for me, a little bit more scary. So we open up with her giving kind of some weird spiel to one of her bodyguard guys. We finally get to jump back to Sam, Henry, Joel, and Ellie. They talk to Joel and Ellie, kind of calm them down, be like, hey, I need your help, you need our help. They go into like a little conference room. This is when you really discover that Sam, I believe, who is the kid, uses ALS, so he's deaf, which is something that is not in the video game. And it's a really cool change, I think. It's a really good way to add depth to a character and make him more reliable on Henry. Not only that, but he's also a lot younger. He's 8 in the show, I believe, and in the game, he's closer to Ellie's age. Like, I think he's like 12 or 13 in the game. Just makes him that much more innocent and that much more incapable of fending for himself and all that. So I thought it added a lot to the show. If you watch the behind the scenes, I even put this at the end of my notes. You watch the behind the scenes of the episode at the end. They explain why they decided to do the ASL and all that stuff. And the kid, the actor, is actually deaf, which you'd hope so. It makes it that much better. He actually is using ASL because obviously I don't know any sign language. It was a really cool thing to see at the end of the episode. They basically kind of make their game plan. Henry's basically like, hey, we need your help. I don't shoot people. I didn't even have bullets in my gun. Just doing that to intimidate you. I know you shoot people. I know you kill people. I know you can do what I need you to do. And I know the way out of here. So we need to team up, get the fuck out of this town, and get her done. And he has some kind of sketchy plan about going through these underground tunnels. There's a lot of things that are different, starting to deter from the game that's in the show. Because apparently the Kansas City Fedra, they got all of the infected underground somehow. So I don't really know how they did that. So that kind of explains that pulsing hole in the ground that they were talking about in the last episode. They got them all underground and they want to go through these underground tunnels where apparently no infected are. So that's Henry's kind of plan to get them through and get them out of the town. Joel's at first not really about it, but you know, he talks them into it. They get all about it. They go down into these tunnels and they're kind of walking through a little while. Joel and Ellie are kind of leading the way. They come into this, I still don't understand exactly what it is. I mean, I guess people had underground bunkers for kids and stuff. I don't know. It kind of looked like a little schoolhouse. They have all these games and books and like a little soccer goal setup thing and all that. And it's really nice. You get kind of that bonding moment between Ellie and Sam. And even Henry and Joel. Ellie and Sam are bonding between some superhero stuff and doing some nerdy superhero things. They're playing games. They're being kids, and it's doing what HBO does so good in their shows is giving you a depth of emotion. Like, it's not just pure agony and sadness and hatred and all this horrible stuff that the Last of Us world is. You see them laughing and enjoying and having a good time and building a relationship together. And then you see Henry say to Joel, he's like, yeah, you might not be her dad, but you definitely were someone's dad. And you can see it in Joel's face. He's like, fuck. Because you could just tell that he's like starting to care for Ellie and that things are happening. So I like the scene down in whatever that little bunker safe room thing was. It's also really interesting seeing Ellie because, you know, she puts on a really hard face and a really hard persona to try to, you know, look good in this world and whatever she's trying to do to help her get through the savagery of this world and all that. In my notes, I say that Ellie's like half kid and half adult, which she is 14, which makes sense. But she's trying to put on this persona that she's like not scared of stuff and her quirky, snippy attitude and all that. But then you see her with Sam and you see how she is still a kid. She's 14. Like she's still so young to be having to deal with all these things and going through this world and this life and all that stuff. I thought they did a really good way of showing that in this episode. So yeah, his kind of motivation is that he gave up Kathleen's brother in order to get leukemia treatment for Sam. So apparently Sam just has all issues. He's a tiny little kid, he had leukemia, he's deaf and all that stuff. It makes it very hard to live in this kind of world. And I thought that was an interesting little change too, because he didn't have leukemia in the game. I don't even remember what their backstory is in the game, if they even tell us. Like, I think you just meet them, you guys band up and teamed up together, you know, they die at the end. I thought that was a kind of a nice twist to like bring them back in. As much as I don't care about Kathleen and how her story just ends with her just walking up to him, pointing a gun, and then gets eaten by the kid zombie. The kid zombie is terrifying, but just that is the end of what happens to her. That kind of sucks. Okay, so you see them and they're running and they get out of the city. People end up finding them and they're chasing them. And now this is where we get to another one-for-one recreation of the video game with a little twist on it. Actually, a really fucking big twist, but so basically they're sitting on all these cars. There's a guy sniping at them and Joel has to leave them and go up there and kill a sniper in order to get them to be able to move forward, which is exactly what you do in the game. Joel gets up into the room. Turns out in the show, it's like an old man who he doesn't want to kill and he knows that he can easily overpower and take down. In the game, you just fight off some, you know, generic bad guy or whatever, but you kind of, they do just a little thing to make you feel a little bit more. So when you get in there and you see this old man, you're like, oh, and Joel looks at him and he's like, don't do it. And then you have to hear the gunshot. Joel picks up the sniper rifle and all of Kathleen and her forces are arriving and she's basically got them under lock. They crash the truck and the truck somehow opens up one of the sinkholes, and this is where everything changes from the game. I mean, this kind of happens because you get swarmed with infected in the game and Joel has to snipe them off and get them to stop chasing the kids and Henry. But in this, you break open the sinkhole and all the infected come up, and it is horrifying. This is why this episode is for sure the best in the series so far for me, because it's horrifying. You get the feeling of World War Z zombies coming out of this. And when you see the fucking bloater, which is the really big guy that rips the dude's head off, and how he's just unstoppable and apparently bulletproof. Like, he's really hard to kill in the game. He's not like bulletproof, like you could still kill him and everybody's just unloaded. Like, she has a legit sized army and they're getting overwhelmed by all these infected, and the way they move is, like I just said, so World War Z like, and they're fast and they're not easy to kill. Like, these infected are actually legitimately terrifying. And when Ellie's in the car running from the kid zombie, apparently that stuff, like, they actually did that. Like, I thought it was CG, the way she was, like, contorting and moving on that stuff, but apparently it's, like, some super impressive gymnast that was doing it, which just makes it even that much more horrifying that somebody can just move like that. But it was just so scary, and, you know, it comes to the point where they all get through, Joel sniping them all out, which is exactly what you do in the game. You sit up there, you're sniping all the zombies off of people. It's a one-for-one shot. I love the way they shoot it. Everything it's beautiful. The show continues to amaze me. But they get up there, and Kathleen just does the cliche thing where it's just her and them out in the open field, and she's pointing the gun at him. She's like, stop, and gives some stupid little spiel or something like that. And she just gets eaten by the kid zombie. I'm like, God, I didn't care about this character. That's weird because this episode probably does have the highest highs and the lowest lows for me, even though the lows aren't that low, honestly. It's just that I don't give a shit about Kathleen. So they get out of town and they get to the hotel. And this is where I found out that this is one of my favorite arcs in the show, because it just hit, or one of my favorite arcs in the game, because it just hits so hard. It is so heartbreaking and shocking and jaw-dropping. And I know my friends that I talked to that watched this episode, that haven't played the game, they saw this and they were shell-shocked. Their jaws were dropping. They were sitting on the couch all tense and anxious and stuff, they said. And I know why, and I know that feeling. I experienced it, 10 years ago when I played this game. So they get into the hotel and Ellie and Sam are hanging out in the room. Sam shows Ellie that he has a bite. And they do something also in the show that they didn't try to do in the game. I guess it's kind of to back up that it's not as simple as using Ellie's blood directly like that. But she cuts her hand open and tries rubbing it on his wound. And it's gross. But it doesn't work. So they have the thing where she wakes up in the morning. Sam is sitting there on the bed. They're trying to fake you out, do the classic zombie thing where they don't show the face. He turns around and attacks Ellie. and is all over her. They break out the room out the door, and he's attacking her and like trying to bite her, and Joel tries to get up and help, and next thing you know, Henry shoots him. And they slowly keep cutting back between Sam, Henry, and Joel, and showing the blood pooling out of Sam's head, and then Henry not knowing what to do and not letting Joel move and pointing the gun at Joel, and Joel trying to calm him down. And you see the buildup and the panic, franticness of not knowing what to do, because clearly Sam is all that Henry has in the world. And, you know, from what Joel said, the only reason to live in a world like this that's so terrible is for family. So he takes the moment where he shoots himself in the head, and that is the jaw-dropping moment where, I mean, this whole scene together is the jaw-dropping moment. But when he shoots himself, you're like, whoa, that's what happened. That's where they're taking this. This is horrifying. It's so sad. And I don't remember exactly how Joel and Ellie react to it in the game, but it's kind of intense how Ellie's the one who's like, fuck it, let's go. Like they go and bury him, and Joel's the one sitting over there sulking, and Ellie's like, let's go, come on, like we gotta leave. And it's just so heart-wrenching. Oh man, I love this show. It's so good. Like I said before, this is definitely my favorite episode by far. I know where we go next, and it's a good arc too. Not the best one, but I mean, they're all pretty good. So it's nothing to not be excited about. So all in all, I loved this episode. So excited to see more. Let me know what you thought about it down in the comments below, and then give me a like and subscribe.